Also remember, when you're using firewood or processing firewood, wear leather gloves, a good pair of gloves. We've had lots of Band-Aids on training events for people who have cut themselves by not being prepared. So to baton firewood, you could take a firewood like this. Okay, it came from my woodshed, so it's pretty dry. But you can cut that down to small stuff just with a knife and a big stick. Okay?
Hey, Wyatt,
yes.
Come out here. You're doing fine.
Okay, yeah. Okay. Can everybody see okay? All right, so this is just a stick that I found. It's pretty good, heavy duty. So I just keep it for trainings. So what you want to do, you have your knife blade. You want to keep a good solid lock on that elbow. And then you want to use your other hand as your baton. And as you're hitting on this side, you're pushing on this side. So you want to keep a good solid lock with that elbow. Since I don't want to damage my blade on the asphalt, I just try and stop it before it hits. This stuff doesn't take a lot of cut power because it's so dry. If you've seen any of this tamarack, there's not a knot in it. So it should be pretty. Yeah. So you can go as small as you want. And it doesn't take a lot of effort. Okay? If you also notice, I just placed the blade on top of the wood. I don't need to hit or set the blade because just setting it here enough, using the baton, it's going to cut right through. There's no need to try and hatchet it down. Okay? And then once you get it small enough, of course, you can do your feather sticks. Okay? All right. Okay. So the pictures inside on the PowerPoint, there was a base. So when you put that cotton ball down on the wet ground, what's going to happen? Right? So you're going to absorb moisture going into that cotton ball. So I want to put a good base down and get everything protected off the ground. Okay? And I want a good flat surface. So another thing that we carry So this is a heavy duty piece of foil. So remember the slide, when the Vaseline or petroleum jelly hits 99 degrees, it starts to liquefy. What happens with the potential heat as it's turning into liquid? It escapes, it's dripping down onto the ground, and it's becoming basically useless or not as valuable. So the foil is just catching all that potential flame or heat, and it's keeping it to go up. Okay? That gas is still burning. And there was maybe 2 ounces, maybe. All right, so we take that cotton ball. Remember, you have a good cotton ball, saturated, you peel it apart, and you get the troll hair. Okay? Once we put it down, so depending on the saturation level, that cotton ball is going to burn for how long? 8 to 10, depending on. This one's probably just a couple. I didn't go too heavy. So now I can actually sit back and make sure I do that preparation part. Okay. So I would do it all right here within my small spot, but right here, we're going to take it. Now if I just take this and place it right on top, the cotton ball is still burning, right? It should start building heat into that small tinder and get it going. Okay? As you start piling onto it, change your direction by 90 degrees. So now I'm going to take it and burn it this way. If it was really wet wood, I would take another stack 90 degrees the other way. Make sense? Don't need to go too wild tonight.
And if it's wet, should you just open it up a little bit more so it's...
You could.
Yeah.
Also, using the brace method, you could pick this up a little bit. You could add in oxygen to it. Remember, oxygen is one of your ingredients. You can use a hose, a straw, whatever product you want, depending on the elements. You can add in more oxygen, and that will give it more advantage for that heat. So once you get a bigger flame, then you just add to it. Start stepping up size. Of your wood, and at some point, as it's getting bigger, you could then get to the bigger stuff, right? And then after a couple minutes of this, keep adding to it. The wood is already starting to catch pretty well. Once you start adding to it, then you can start putting on logs and stuff like that. Okay? Any questions on the fire preparation?
Patience.
Patience. So I'm one of the academy instructors, and when we train new recruits, sometimes they'll use one cotton ball, and that's it. What's the problem with one cotton ball? One chance. 7 to 10 minutes, 8 to 10, depending on. Depends on how much they've put into it. If it's wet conditions, usually our academies are around the January to March time. So it's a little more of a challenge to get a fire going when it's cold, wet, snow on the ground, the wood is not perfect like it is right now. So they have just a small chance. They're not prepared, so they don't have pre-made or pre-made piles of wood ready to add to that fire. You want to make sure you have good prepared pile, and then just take your time. Okay?
Would duff be a better first kindling, or would it burn too fast?
What do you mean duff?
Beer from Simpsons.
Leaf litter underneath the trees.
It just depends on how dry it is. So, I mean, I could have taken the feather sticks and put that on it. That's basically right in the core of the wood, and it's dry. It's really dry. You could have used that magnesium from the fire starter. You could have used that. There's lots of different methods. The petroleum jelly and cotton ball rarely fails. So if you haven't seen that trick already, I would suggest putting those in your pack and replacing whatever other products you're carrying. Always get a good fire starter. This one's the Primus. I'm not a fan of it. This one, it's just much better. Also, this is a carbide sharpener for a knife. It throws more spark using this than the little cheap one that you get.
So is
Not bad.
Is it the ferrocerium that's the key? That's what you want to look for?
Yes, the quality of this is what you're getting. Also, this one here, this one, it came covered in black. I don't want to say paint, but it looked like black paint. Mm-hmm. You have to peel all that off before it's at any use. Once you get that black paint off, see right now this,
Yeah.
it's just, yeah.
Too bad they don't sell it.
So did you have your cotton balls already ready with the petroleum, just have them in nice and
Yes.
or something?
So my fire kit, this is my pack that I carry for our search packs. This tub has my cotton balls pre-made. It has some other fun stuff that I've done. It has my lighter kit. I have this one here, which is some fat wood or pitch wood with some other things that I've done. I also have a survival lighter in there. But my go-to is the cotton ball with the metal match.
I'm thinking if you've got multiple cotton balls, you do them sequentially to keep the heat going longer, or
It
start with a
depends
couple
on
and then
how
just keep
you're
adding.
progressing. If it's really wet conditions and your first time, then you may want to do a couple of cotton balls. Once that flame gets going, the cotton ball is going to burn until it runs out of fuel, the petroleum jelly. So if it needed to be 2 cotton balls, then that's what you use. I would say practice at home before you go out into the elements and see what you can do and what it takes for you to get a successful fire. Another thing there is, good old road flare. Anybody carry these in their vehicle? Okay, they work. They start fires, no problem. What happens if they get wet? What happens if the special little tip falls off and it's destroyed? It doesn't do anything. Every product on this table can fail. The higher probability of success, I'm not saying it won't fail, but the other method is a really good success rate. It's what Vsar uses when they do their survival training. Metal match, they almost never fail. Any ideas how you could do this with one hand? What if you break an arm when you're out in the woods? Anybody? If you had a cotton ball down on the ground, it's going to be a little harder, but it can work. So you always want to think, what if I injure myself? Aaron, if you ever seen the movie, it's pretty interesting. What if you come out with, what if you find yourself in a position where you only have one operating hand? So you just got to make sure you think. So, any questions?
You ever go to schools and do this?
So Coeur d'Alene High School has a survival science class that just started this year, and I was invited to them February.
Yeah.
I didn't do this presentation. I did the first few slides. Well, I did most of my slides tonight with them and a few other things on how to search. So
There's a whole science behind this. It'd be great in a classroom to have kids try to actually do
Yeah.
this stuff.
yeah, so
outside.
the instructor, it's pretty neat. He used to be out of Ellensburg area.